Hi, Blaze Ryan back, and welcome to the second alternative to punishment in this online course. This alternative to punishment, we're going to talk about understanding the root cause of a child's behavior and why that's so important in order to influence their behavior. See, the reason we use punishments or threats is to change the child's behavior, to try to discipline them, to try to teach them more appropriate behavior. But first we have to understand, why is it? Why are they misbehaving? Why are they behaving in difficult or annoying ways? Why are they defiant? Why are they not listening to us? Why are they talking back to us? Why are they lying to us? All these types of difficult behavior can be explained when we understand the root cause of the behavior. And I call this in my book Democratic Parenting, I call it How to Understand the Root. Work on the root, not the fruit. Okay, so in order to explain what that means, imagine you have a fruit tree. Okay, you have a fruit tree in your backyard, and all the fruit, they come up rotten. Okay, they're not growing properly. Okay, we want to understand the reason that these fruits are not healthy has to do with the health of the roots of the tree. Okay, we're not going to just snip off all the rotten fruit, go to the grocery store, buy a bunch of fresh, shiny fruit, and then tie those onto the fruit tree and pretend that our fruit tree is in perfect health, right? That doesn't make any sense. And so the way to solve this problem with your fruit tree is to look at the health of the roots. Perhaps your tree needs more fertilizer. Perhaps it needs more water. Perhaps the soil needs more nutrients, or perhaps there are parasites that are eating the roots. So we have to address the roots in order to change the fruits, right? The fruits are the manifestation. Those are the results. That's what we see on the surface, but they're caused by the things underneath, right? It's the root cause of things that show up, that we see the reason why things are the way they are, right? It's a simple logic, right? Cause and effect. So the same thing with child's behavior. If a child is misbehaving, if they're not listening, if they're being defiant or disobedient, or if they're ignoring you or talking back, or any types of difficult behavior, if they're unfocused or hyperactive, there's a reason for that. So we need to uncover and understand the reason in order to take effective actions, okay? So there's all types of techniques and tactics to deal with the actual behavior of setting limits. But at the same time, in order to be effective, in order to create a sustainable, permanent, positive transformation and shift in our child's behavior, we want to also address the root cause at the same time. So in my book, Democratic Parenting, okay, I'm going to talk a lot about this book because the majority of the techniques are explained in this book to some degree. Okay, so if you haven't gotten this book already, I highly recommend you get it because it talks more deeply about a lot of these subjects. And one of the chapters in this book is about dealing with the root cause. And there are three specific reasons children will misbehave. The first one has to do with unmet legitimate needs. Okay? The thing is, we all have needs. Children, adults, grandparents, everybody have basic, fundamental, legitimate needs. There are three levels of our needs. Physiological body needs, right? We need healthy nutrition. We need to get adequate sleep. Okay? We need to feel safe and secure. Physiological body needs. We need exercise, for example, to be healthy, right? We need basically to be healthy. That's one need. Then we have emotional, social needs, right? And then we have psychological, mental needs, okay? All of these different needs must be met in order for us to feel healthy and happy. The same thing goes for children. And we'll talk about this in the next alternative to punishment. We'll go deeper into talking about the actual needs. The second cause for difficult behavior is stress, okay? So stress can be defined as long-term sustainable stress, or a stress caused by traumas, or it can be a low-grade stress that has just been there caused by perhaps unmet needs. And so there's four types of stress, okay? Just to make this simple, there's four types of different stressors that can affect children. The first is what I call aggressive stress. This is caused by aggressive or more violent situations. For example, being bullied or hit at school, being kicked or punched, or being shaken or yelled at, or scolded by an adult. This is a type of aggressive stress that really harms the child, makes them feel hurt, okay? And this accumulates within the child, and it's hard for them to deal with and process. And if it's not processed, this will cause them to stay into that survival instinct of the brain, into the amygdala part of the brain, because they feel their well-being is threatened. They feel unsafe, okay? So the amygdala gets triggered. They get into the fight or flight reaction, and it shuts down their frontal cortex, the higher thinking part of their brains. They have less good judgment, they're less memory recall, poorer attention span. They might be more hyperactive as well, okay, caused by these types of things. So this aggressive stress. But all types of stress can cause this amygdala hijacking to occur. The second type of stress is what I call passive stress. Passive stress is really the pressure of these unmet needs, which I just mentioned. So for example, the need for attention, which all children have. We know that children, if they don't get positive attention, they will misbehave or be naughty in order to get negative attention, because we all know that negative attention is better than no attention at all. We've seen this with lots of children, okay? So any type of need that they have that it goes unmet for long enough time will cause a passive stress in their system. The third type of stress is what I call situational stress. Situational stress are really life changes that are nobody's fault, but they are stressors. For example, moving home, moving to a new school, the death of a family member, or maybe a pet in the family. This is a stress on the child. It's nobody's fault, and it's caused by life situations. Okay, but it can be something difficult for children to process. And the fourth type of stress is physiological or birth stress. Okay, birth stress are types of stresses or traumas caused during pregnancy or during labor or during the first year after birth. Okay, this can affect a child's behavior as well. Also, physiological stress of being sick or unwell or having an illness. This is another type of stress as well. Okay, we're going to talk about specifically about the first three kinds of stress. Okay, situational stress, passive stress, aggressive stress. Because if we can help our children process this stress, it relieves it and takes it out of their system, and they can return to being clear-minded and having good judgment and using the frontal cortex part of their brain. Okay, so the key is really helping children process this stress, this tension. Okay, stress starts off as a tension, and then it can build up as a pressure. And if it's not dealt with, if it's not processed, then it will escalate and become a stress, and it can be a chronic issue. And I believe in our modern world that not only children, but adults as well, they're suffering from this type of chronic, sustained pressure and stress that's caused by overwhelm and so many responsibilities, and just not taking enough time and space to process everything, that all the stimulation and the feelings and the emotion and all the responsibilities and stressors that we all have to deal with. So there's specific techniques and ways that you can help your children deal with this to help them heal from stress. And if you want to learn about this, I have a specific webinar called Helping Children Heal from Stress and Trauma. And I highly recommend you watch that if you suspect that stress is a major issue for your children. Also, in my book, Democratic Parenting, there's an entire chapter that talks about the 8 natural ways to help children heal from stress. So you can read that as well. Now, moving on to the third reason for difficult behavior. This has to do with role modeling. Okay, we have to remember that children are natural born mimics. They model the world around them in order to learn. That's how they learn how to walk. That's how they learn how to talk. And it's also how they learn how to relate and communicate and deal with situations. They learn that from watching their adult caregivers, right? They are modeling us all the time. Now, there are 6 levels of role models in a child's life. The primary role models are their parents. Okay, the parents are the primary role models for children. And so they're going to learn a lot of the behavior from their adult caregivers. And then secondary are their siblings and their internal family. And then we move on to other people in their community. And finally, even the types of non-directly influencing people, but characters in cartoons or in storybooks or in video games can be role models for children as well, because they see this types of behavior, right? For example, in videos or video games, they see this type of violent or aggressive behavior. And so oftentimes children they want to try that on a little bit. They're trying to experience some of that, or as a way for them to deal with their own pressure or tension, they might exhibit a type of violent or aggressive behavior or ways of talking or ways of relating or ways of excluding other children that they might have seen in a video or a show or a movie or even video games, right? These are all different models of behavior in the child's environment, and children are absorbing all this information. So it's important when assessing a child's misbehavior or difficult behavior, whatever it is you're dealing with, is to go through this checklist and ask yourself which of these three, or which combination of these three, or perhaps it's all three of these underlying root causes are affecting your child's behavior. Are there legitimate unmet needs? Is there a buildup of stress? Or has my child just undergone a type of hurt or stressful situation in school with other children? Did they feel excluded that can cause them a type of hurt? Are they being bullied, which can cause the buildup of aggressive stress, right? Or are they modeling this behavior? Perhaps they're modeling the behavior from us. Perhaps we're exhibiting behavior with our spouse or other people in their life which our child are watching that behavior, and they're starting to use that same tone or that same way of communicating that they see us doing. Sometimes it's one thing, sometimes it's multiple things. So it's important to take the time to go through these and look at them and ask yourself honestly, which of these root causes is affecting my child? Once you understand that, then the action you take, the response you take to your child's behavior is much more effective. Okay, so in the next video, in the next alternative to punishment, we're going to talk about these 15 legitimate needs. Okay, we just talked about how legitimate unmet needs is a big cause of a child's difficult behavior, and we need to understand all 15 of them, and they're like a checklist to go through. We'll go through them real quick, but then this way it's like a tool that you can use. You can use this checklist when you're dealing with your child's behavior and just look at their behavior and ask yourself, well, perhaps this one is being unmet, or I'm meeting this one a little bit, but perhaps I can meet a little bit more. And this one you say, okay, this one's completely met, but this one is not. And so when this one is not, what can I do? What action can I take to help meet that need? And we'll talk about those as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, every single day, give your child all your love. Give yourself that same love too. And together, we can build a brighter future.